Okay. So today we're going to work on the shirt, the trousers, and the boots if we have time. And I have here black, ivory black. I have ivory black. Any black will do. Burnt umber, burnt sienna, and white. And that's all we need. So I'm going to start with the shirt. What we'll do is I'm going to take burnt umber, put a bit of black in your burnt umber for the left side from here. Not too much, not to make it look like black. It just needs to look like a dark brown. And I'm just going to go, I think I put too much black. I'm going to keep an eye on the reference. So whenever I see a lighter brown, I'm going to add more burnt umber. It's going to dry darker, but that's okay because we're going to be highlighting, so it doesn't matter. This is all burnt umber now. This is the area where it's dark. And then the rest is like just burnt umber. Okay, like a lighter, bit of a lighter gray, brown here. It's going to be, it's not light. I mean, if you put just burnt umber, it will dry darker, but that's okay because we're going to highlight all of this once it's dry. Now I'm going to switch to round brush because there's a little bit of a detailed small areas here. Take a little bit of black with my burnt umber for this area. This area here, it's a little bit darker. And let's go here. Good. I'm moving my brush in a more like the same movement of the pleats of the shirt, of the sleeve. Same direction. This is good. Now, let's do the boots. Just brown, no black. I will be zooming in when I start highlighting. I'll zoom in. Okay, done. All right, so now let's highlight the shirt. So for highlighting for the shirt, I mixed white with burnt umber, and I added a tiny bit of black slowly, just a tiny bit, not much, just to change the brown into more like a grayish brown, but not too gray. This is good enough. See this right here is gray brown, and this is just brown and white. I'm gonna zoom in. Okay. Not too light first, just enough to get a highlight, to get a different color. And with the round brush, I'm going to start with the part where it's really light. So this is medium. I'm keeping an eye on the reference the whole time. Now, at this point, I can start adjusting the shape of the sleeve. See, I see that I have a roundish, too much of a sleeve here, so I adjusted that. And again, of course, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Same thing we're seeing there. We're not copying exactly the same. Smaller, shorter ones here. So there's one here that goes out and then in, and then a strong highlight right there. Just because I'm doing this, just because it's nice to vary your the shape of the pleat, the sleeve, the way it is. I need to shorten that one here. There. Not because I want to really copy it exactly the same. I just want to, I like the variation in the fold. It's good. Okay, let's take some more. And let's come to this area here. And I can see in here, it's like, it kind of dwindles. Not too light, not too strong. All right, let's come down to to here. And I'm looking at something like this, you know, when I'm doing something like this, folds and highlights, I actually don't see a fold. I'm seeing shapes. I'm following the shape of the highlight. So I'm not really thinking these are folds. I am looking at the shape. Now I can take a bit more white, put it in there. I'm going to dip my brush in water so my my brush is not too dry. Okay, so now I'm highlighting more. So I'm highlighting slowly. And that will allow the first layer of the highlight to show through. I am highlighting more, but I'm making sure that I'm leaving a little bit of that first layer showing through, if possible, in the areas I can control. I think I need to add more brown and less black in this right now, because it's turning gray with the white. So I'm going to take white and brown only and no black. And when it dries, if I find that the highlights or the light that I was adding is too let's say too gray, and I want it to be more brown, I can glaze it with burnt umber. Just glaze a thin layer of burnt umber over the highlight, will turn it into brown without, and we can still see without removing the brush strokes. This is on an angle now. I'm going this to the left. So my brush stroke is not going down vertical. It's just on an angle, a bit on an angle. That's because because of the way the shirt turns, it's not straight down. I think all of this needs to be glazed. Now, I can see there's like a big jump between the shirt color and the highlight, and the highlights are turning gray. Even with burnt umber and white, it's still too gray. I am definitely going to glaze them. And you'll see, as soon as you glaze them, it really makes a big difference. I'm going to be adding now more white to my burnt umber. And I'm going to come here And I'm going to add a third layer of highlights, but it's really light now. Like, this is where I'm seeing on his shirt, this is where the light is hitting. So as soon as it goes down, it's less highlight, but with a couple of little dots showing, because the sun really kind of will hit areas, certain areas that are higher. Even in the shirt he's wearing, there are areas that are a little bit bumpier than the other areas. So we'll just, that's why I'm adding a couple of little ones here and there. Yeah, that's good. It's good, good. Okay, now here. Let's connect this strong one to here, to this one. And then again, I'm not worried about this white being too light because it's going to be glazed. Right now, it looks disconnected from the rest of the shirt because there's a lot of strong contrast between both colors. I'm going to let this dry. And I'm going to take burnt umber and white, but not as much as before. And no black. And I'm going to come here, highlight this part, highlight the folds in here. Thin brush strokes. These folds in here are really thin. They're gathered. Right, I'm going to let this dry. Meanwhile, while this is drying, actually, it needs a bit of highlights in here. In brown, dark brown, right here. I'm going to take a very strong white mixed with burnt umber, and I'm going to highlight this part. Only here. All right, now, I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to take burnt sienna, mix it with a bit of burnt umber, and I'll stop. I'll pause so you can do this. I'm going to put here burnt sienna mixed with burnt umber. More burnt umber now. And I'm adding burnt umber, leaving some dark in between. I'm going to do the same here. See how it's a big difference? It makes a big difference now. I'm just doing burnt umber here. It makes a big difference because it makes this shirt look less. It makes the contrast between the two colors, between the highlight and the shirt itself, softer. I'm not covering the whole thing. I'm just covering a couple of areas here. Now, I can see in the reference, it's not a big deal and we don't have to do it, but I can see there's a little bit of a shadow of the shirt. Oh, jeez. Where it folds over. There's a line. I mean, I don't know if you have the reference next to you, but you can see that line in here in black. It's not black, it's dark brown. A little bit of darks in here, which is, I'm just adding black over that. Just over here. It would just defines a bit. This is black. And I'm going to do a couple here. Just kind of gives the shirt a bit of movement. Over here too. There's a kind of a very subtle, this is too much. Okay, subtle kind of shadow in here, in this corner. I'm gonna let this dry and then I'm gonna glaze it. All right, now while we're waiting for this part to dry completely, I'm gonna highlight the boots. And I'm gonna start with a bit of burnt sienna. Apply it to this part. A little bit here and there. And then I'm going to go back to burnt umber and white, a little bit of white. I'm not going to highlight the boots the same way I highlighted the shirt, because of course there's not a strong light on it. I keep in mind that my highlights are going to dry darker. Okay, let's try. I think this is too light. I'm going to take a bit more of burnt umber in here. The boots are really in a kind of a shadow area. Let's try. It's too light. Let's go back here, cover this one. I'm going to make sure that the strong highlight, not strong, but the highlight that we can see is where the fold is. it will dry darker. I'm just kind of trying to, now I'm going to take a bit of black, by the way, just kind of adjust the highlight. Black and brown. Sorry, I should say black and brown. Any little detail where the highlight is there, and if it's not the right highlight or the right value, it changes the whole shape. Tells you how much highlights are important, and they do change the shape if they're not the right value. I go back with dark color, dark brown or black, and I adjust the folds if I find that they're maybe too light, too dark, whatever. They need to be adjusted. All right, let's take a bit of burnt sienna and burnt umber in here with a bit of white. And I'm gonna come here and then just add a tiny bit in certain areas of a lighter color. Okay, bit here. Oh, that's too light. Okay. Now this one. And again, I'm going to start highlighting slowly, because highlights, if they take over, it's really hard to adjust. A little bit of black, a little bit of brown, back and forth. With the boots, every corner of this boot is different. And we don't really have to follow exactly what's happening in there, but a little bit of variation in the highlights makes it look like it's worn. You know, it looks old, like not old, used.
Weathered.
Weathered. Thank you. Not gonna spend too much time on this. That's enough. This part of the shirt is dry. I am gonna glaze this. So I'm gonna take a brush, take burnt umber only on a clean, clean area. Put water, enough water in here, or glazing medium, doesn't matter whichever. But when you put water, just make sure you don't put too much. Just you have to see if you look at this, that's good. The way, that's good. I'm gonna come here. And glaze all of this. So all of my brush strokes, you can see them. I can still see them, but they're brown. Yeah, let it dry. I think I put too much water, maybe. I'm just gonna do this. And that's perfect. Now I can go back, add a bit of white to my glaze. That's perfect. So I'm adding white to the glaze. Add a little bit more white. Because when I glazed, I lost this beautiful, strong highlight here. So I'm trying to get it back. That's perfect. That's good. Now with my glaze, white and brown, I'm going to add a tiny bit, a couple of little brush strokes here and there. And it's a glaze with white. Okay. Okay. For this part, the trousers, I'm using Prussian blue, black, and white. If you have any color that is a dark, strong pigment, blue will do. It's fine. Any of the other colors. I wouldn't use something like cerulean blue or ultramarine blue. I would use something a little bit more stronger. Even you could use actually Payne's gray with blue. That will work. These folds going. Okay. Okay. Let's do the other part. right, my brush is not cooperating, so I might have to turn the canvas around. I'll do it later. Let's do that. Let's try and see if I can get the shape on the edge going. Right. Okay, so this comes out this way and goes in. Okay, perfect. All right, let's put some highlights. So now with the highlights, I'm going to take black and blue, mix them, and some white. That gives me kind of a grayish blue. And the highlights are not strong. They're really faint and subtle. So I'm gonna come here and then start where I see the highlights. So I see them more like here. And that's, again, should dry darker. If it doesn't, yeah, I think we should be okay. Okay. This part, there's not a lot of work on this part of the jeans, so we're okay. Okay, so this is where we're at this week. Next week we'll work on the horse.